welcome everyone to this new week of the live streams. It is Tuesday, so you guys know what's up already. And oh wow, 2 likes already. I didn't even start. Thank you guys. Thank you. So again, and if you guys aren't subscribed, make sure you guys do, and make sure once you're subscribed, make sure you guys hit that notification bell so that you know when I am live. You guys are notified when I'm live, and also for my videos to come up on your own YouTube timeline. So again, make sure you guys hit that subscribe button and the notification bell in order to be notified. Right? So I want to quickly go over the markets today. So overall, SPY had a very good day. Really good strength. The RSI continues to show us that the overall market has the strength and legs to go up higher. And the only thing is now, we've got that retest at that 437 level that we've talked about for weeks, right? So hopefully you guys were staring at this level, and there's still a gap that we haven't yet filled. That was back in late September here, right? And if you guys remember, I told you guys that we're most likely going to come back up to fill in this gap. However, there are 2 different conditions. Number 1, we're going to retest 437 first. And then number 2, when we retest 437, we're going to be filling in about 50% of this gap down. And that's exactly what we did around these trading days. And then obviously, right here on this candlestick, right, this is the previous pivot high point. We got this little pop up over 437, and we attempted to fill in the rest of this gap down, since we already filled in about 50%. And I would say we filled in about, at this point in time, I would say around 80%. And so we still have about 20% left until we can fully fill in this gap. And so this kind of makes me think that there is a possibility this week, even tomorrow, that we may just fill in the gap first, and then we see an immediate rejection, and then we see that intermittent pullback back down to 429.50, and then we start consolidating. All right, this is kind of my squiggly line potential price path that I put here. Now, that can all happen, but there is another scenario that I'm kind of betting on more to occur, because 437 is a very big supply level, and also this entire run-up is about to become a bit unhealthy, right? So again, just as a quick summary, we've filled in about 80% of the gap down that that we made back in late September. And again, if you guys remember, I told you guys that when we made this gap down, I told you guys that we were most likely going to come back up to retest 437, and then at the same time fill in this gap for about 50%, right? And that's exactly what we did. And then on this day, this pivot high point, right, we filled in about 80%, and we ultimately didn't end up filling in that entire gap, even if I would have loved to see the entire gap fill on this day, but unfortunately we didn't. So that's the reason why I'm saying that there's a slight possibility that we could be seeing a nice gap fill, 100% gap fill this time, which would mean we would need to take out the previous pivot high points at 438.14 on this specific candlestick, right? So this is the reason why I have my arrows. Okay, so this is the previous pivot low, and then we made this. This is the most previous pivot low, and we obviously bounced. And with this bounce, we need to break over this previous pivot high point in order to officially confirm long term that we are in a new uptrend. Yes, short term wise, we're in an uptrend, right? I mean, that's really obvious. I don't need to explain that, right? So, just using our naked eyes, there is a good chance that 437 could hold as a resistance for sellers who are trying to keep the price down below 437, because they're not trying to be pushed out like they were almost pushed out on this previous high pivot point. So I'm still believing that we can see an official close again at 437 tomorrow, so that we can lead into a mid to end week pullback, right? So again, I only told you guys the first scenario first because you guys need to keep that in the back of your head, because that can still happen. A 100% gap fill of this gap down can still happen, and then we get that flush to the downside, right? So the only reason why I'm also saying that as well is we got a lot of euphoria today, right? We have a lot of euphoria and FOMO, okay? Now, first of all, let me address the FOMO situation here. So a lot of the short sellers are now switching. They're getting pushed out of their shorts, and most of them are tired of grabbing puts because the premiums on puts have been burned out, right? As the market continues to grind up higher, continues to hold its relative strength. And so what these people are doing is that they're adding more fuel to the ever-growing fire of bulls. So with that in mind, today we got that euphoria, I guess the correct word is euphoric drive up higher, not euphoria. And this euphoric drive up higher was mostly caused by software names, DDOG. So DDOG had an incredible move up on this gap up, right? And so now I'm going to segue into earnings plays. So DDOG can definitely see an earnings slide up higher. It can just continue to move up and potentially hit my next level of resistance at 108.50. So this could be a very easy trade to take, because again, when we see big earnings gap ups and those gap ups are being held on the same day, plus we have a really strong market, that usually ends up being a good mixture for a very easy swing trade to the upside. Okay, so DDOG, definitely watch out for this one, because a lot of other software names like Snow, right? These are all names that got a really big jump today, right? ZS, another good leader name. CrowdStrike, okay, even Net had great earnings too. And so if you guys are in the CFO Discord or in the or if you guys are members of the newsletter, I told you guys all that I think last week, at the start of last week, that if we do get a rally, software and semiconductors were going to be the leaders to push the market up higher. And that's exactly what we're seeing now. And the earnings reactions are further proving that into the end of this year, we will continue to see strength from these two different specific industries. All right, hopefully that makes sense. And so, stocks like Nvidia, AMD, they continue to trudge on up higher and continue to slide up on higher, especially like AMD after earnings. So the story is very, very similar across all the different industries and sectors, right? We're getting really good gap ups, and we're getting, complementing signals from each different sector that the market should continue to move up higher, right? So now I do want to talk about some other earnings names like Axon. Okay, so this one is a pretty illiquid name. It's a very thin name, right? The volume is less than 500,000, the average volume. But thanks to the earnings here, we got a little tiny pop up higher. Now, I don't know exactly where it closed since I wasn't watching until it closed. That's crazy for me to do after the market closes. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, so it had a nice little pop up higher. It should be sitting at around 224 tomorrow morning. And there is a good possibility that we can see an earnings move up and slide up higher on this name as well, right? So this is something that you guys should be looking out for. It just had earnings after hours, right? Now, another name to be looking at is Uber, right? Uber had a really good earnings reaction today. Even if it had a nice gap down in the morning, it completely pushed out any type of selling, short selling, and it burst through 48, this resistance level, and the previous pivot high points. So it's right back to hitting the $50 level, right? The $50 whole number level and we're nearing back to the 2020 and 2021 highs. I mean, this one is really looking to be a good leader into the end of the year as well. So Uber, definitely look out for a continued run up over $50. Okay? Now, the next one that I want to talk about is CELH, Celsius. So Celsius has a stock split coming up. They approved it last week. All right, so this is looking pretty good. And it's a 3-for-1 stock split. All right, and you know, I love the fact that they're doing this stock split at highs. It's always good when a company knows when to do an actual stock split, because I've seen some really mismanaged, like really mismanaged companies doing stock splits out of nowhere. Yes, they include more opportunities for the individual investors and maybe even just, you know, institutions to provide more liquidity. However, you know, doing it at such, you know, random and low share price is not good, right? I mean, I could go on forever on explaining why that's bad, but I just want you guys to focus on the technicals. And right now, especially at this moment, leaders are coming back, right? Leaders are coming back, and Celsius has been a leader for this entire year. So for the fact that we've had this nice drop down, and even if this looks pretty bearish, the earnings report was, again, absolutely great, right? It just blew estimates out of the water for both revenue and earnings. That's what you want to see, right? You want to see continued beats on both estimates on earnings and revenue every single quarter. And the share price has to reflect that strong performance every single quarter, and Celsius has done that every single quarter. So, you know, Celsius, again, I think it can reach over 200s again. This is definitely a leader that you want to get back into. And, you know, especially after earnings here, I think it's a great dip buy. Definitely, for sure. Okay. All right. And then last one, net. So I actually got a nice 40% swing trade from yesterday to today. And unfortunately, I did not hold long enough until we retested 66. However, this is still looking like it wants to move to the upside. Why? Because this 66 resistance level, right? We're looking at this level like 2 months ago, I think. I wrote it here for my members. And unfortunately, we saw that big rejection. So, you know, at 66, so that didn't happen. But so far, on the weekly time frame, NET is looking explosive. Right, it looks like it's about to have a huge exponential breakout. And if we do break over 66, thanks to the injection of volume through earnings and this really positive move up after earnings, and this really good drift up higher after earnings, right? This slide up higher from earnings. I truly believe we can get a nice bump up higher over 66 and then see that push up higher to 70, right? And then ultimately over 70 and obviously to 72, right? Like you guys can clearly see this, these levels here, right? 70 and 72, right? So that is another earnings name that you guys have to be looking out for, right? Now, just last one, just one more, okay? Last one here, bear with me, guys. All right, last one. Shopify, right? Shop is now making a very good curling, right? So it's curling like this, right? So I love to see earnings names do this, right? So it has a very good gap up, holds the gap up higher, and breaks over every major resistance level like 55.50, 54.50, 57, and it holds over all those major resistance levels on the earnings gap up, and then it starts curling like this, right? And curving. And it does this right underneath another major level of resistance at 62 for Shopify. And when it does this, we start to get really tight inside candlesticks like we got yesterday. And so tomorrow, if you do see a small pullback on Shop, there's a chance that we can get a very tight ranged day. And potentially, once we get enough volume to come in again, we can see a very good breakout over 62. Now, mind you guys, all of the names that I just giving to you guys right now is most likely going to slide up higher after earnings with low volume. All right, we can see a melt up with low volume, right? And the reason why is that the majority of the volume has already been injected after earnings came in. All right, so earnings reaction and earnings has been priced in, and the volume is in as well. And all we need to see is that the short interest on all of these names, so people who are looking to short, are basically dissipated. And it provides an easy opportunity for the price to continue to slide up on higher every single trading day with higher highs and higher lows. Okay, now again, just mind your levels. Make sure you guys know where your resistance levels are at, like I just showed you guys here. And obviously your stops, which is the most important thing. Okay. Hey, 5 likes. Thank you guys. Thank you. Okay. So those are your earnings names that you guys have to watch out for. All right. I give you guys a list, so make sure you guys go back to the recording to make sure you guys remember what that list consists of. Okay. But now let's segue into some of the plays that we had in the privacy of a Discord and from the newsletter. Okay, so first of all, cart. This one I missed. All right, this one I missed, but this was in the newsletter last week. Right, this was in the newsletter last week, and this had a nice run up. And I believe the SI, the short interest, was pretty high on this one too. And so now we got a nice squeeze up into earnings. So even if we didn't know about the short interest or whatever, right? This was looking to break to the upside, all right? Based on this singular candlestick here and the fact that we refused to break below, even if my initial analysis was bearish. But again, this is a wedge chart pattern, if you guys didn't know already. And this gives you two different entries, right? One to the long side and one to the short side. And so I kept both opportunities open. And I ultimately ended up missing out on this one because I was being a little bit too skeptical on this one breaking over this $26 level and holding over it. And it did that for multiple days, including today. All right. So ultimately, this name has eventually just ran up into earnings. And we have earnings tomorrow after hours on this name. So hopefully this one beats and we get a nice push up higher to that maximum target that I had for this name at $30 plus. Okay. All right, another name is CCJ. That's right. So we had CCJ as a swing last week too. And today, oh my goodness, we absolutely sniped this name in the morning. And this one just snapped back up higher immediately. So once I started to see the price breaking below the 10 SMA and heading towards 39.50, which was a previous level of resistance turned into new support, I was like, okay, we need to get in, right? Because this is like one of those very quote-unquote sneaky long-term entries that you want to be taking on leaders, right? Because again, CCJ, uranium, is a leader. We got the nice breakout back in the start of summer or middle of summer. And the entire uranium sector just had a huge jump up higher. And CCJ was one of those names that came out on top as the leader, as one of the leaders in the uranium sector. So CCJ definitely should continue to go up higher and potentially make an ascending channel like you guys could see here. Okay, so that means whatever dip that we get within this channel, and especially when we get to kind of a midpoint area in the channel, right? Okay, we should be seeing some good support coming in, right? And that's exactly what we saw today as well. But obviously we got a lot better entry point at 39.50, right? And I personally have sold at 41 because I got 41 strike contracts, and that was my initial target anyways. And so I turned it into a very good day trade. So I'm really glad that I got this one. I'm really glad that the members have also gotten in this one as well. And my students, they got a really good percentage return on this one as well. So CCJ, what an absolute monster. And talking about monsters, right? As we're talking about monsters, Apple. This one is just, the chef's kiss moment here, guys, literally. So Apple, I got in on Friday last week with a very good entry point. And this one is a prime example of an earnings slide up. And so, you know, obviously if you guys look at the volume on earnings day or the earnings reaction day, right, which is on Friday, and we compare the volume to the next 2 days, including today, the volume isn't that much higher, right? And this is what I was talking about earlier, right? Where you don't need to see a lot of volume after earnings day, especially a catalyst like earnings, to justify a continued move up higher, right? We can just see names just sliding on up higher like we see with Apple and all the other names that I just gave out to you guys a couple minutes ago, right? So Apple here, absolutely amazing trade. Okay, so this one's almost at a triple percentage return personally for me, and I wished I had gotten in more on Friday because I was a bit skeptical based on the intraday chart pattern that we're looking at on Apple. But you know what? I can't complain. I had some amazing trades today and yesterday too, and Apple has been an amazing swing. So this one, I'll most definitely look to sell tomorrow morning, right at market open. Okay, now with all that in mind, okay, let's take a look at overnight futures. So S&P 500 futures. So this one, okay, now futures is looking pretty good. And I don't really have much to say about it other than the fact that we should be seeing a retest of 4420 on the S&P 500 futures, okay? And that could mean that tomorrow, you know, it really doesn't matter where we open. Even if we open with a gap down, I truly believe that we can see a retest of 4420, which means there's still some more room left for the market to run, right? Just like what I told you guys with SPY when I first began this live stream, right? We can see a gap fill of this gap down that we didn't completely fill in, because right now we have completely filled it in around 80%. But once we are able to fill in this gap down back from I think mid to late September, we can then see an immediate rejection and then a very well-earned pullback to 429.50, right? So SPY futures currently is seeing a little bit of a red here after open, and I don't mind it, right? I don't mind it because that's exactly what we got the past 2 days, and thanks to the tightly priced ranged days and the fact that the VIX has been absolutely smashed down and compressed, right? The volatility has been compressed. The overall markets have been able to continue to move up higher with strength, with no matter to how much the market wants to move in one single day, right? Because again, as long as we're making higher highs and higher lows, we are continuing this uptrend, and it doesn't matter how big the price range is for each single trading day. So again, if you guys know what volatility compression is, then you guys should understand that for the next couple of days, maybe even until the end of this week, we could be seeing very tight ranged days for each single trading day. All right. So definitely look out for all those earnings plays, those potential earnings plays, all right? And we're looking, again, the theme is same. We're looking for an earnings slide up on higher, okay? An earnings drift up higher. And, those are some of the most, I guess, the easiest trades to take, especially when the market decides to kind of consolidate the current run that it's currently had. Right? So again, the market has moved a lot, and so I would expect to see a lot of these straggling names, the stragglers, what I was trying to say about it. I guess the struggling names also work out. So the names that have been really lagging and struggling to move with the markets are finally moving, right? We saw growth names, right? ARKK seeing a really good jump today too, compared to the overall market. And that should say something, right? When we're seeing really unprofitable, just crappy companies, tech companies especially, right? Tech companies just moving, like absolutely gunning it to the upside with no rejections of any sort throughout the entire day, tells you that the market is really on drugs, right? It's on steroids here, right? And with the fact that we're seeing software names and semiconductor names leading this rally up higher, which I said it will happen around 2 weeks ago, okay? It's just further confirming the fact that we're about to see an end of the year rally, right? We're about to have a Santa rally as well. So keep your eyes on those names and keep your eyes on the entire semiconductor and software industries or sectors. Okay? All right, so hopefully that was helpful. If you guys have any questions, make sure you guys send them over. I love helping you guys out, answer any type of question that you may have on technical analysis, or maybe you might have a question on how to join the newsletter and be a part of the private CFO Discord. Whatever it is, please ask me, DM me on Instagram, email me, or just comment on one of my YouTube videos, DM me on Twitter, whatever it is. All my socials are down below, so make sure you guys check it out in the description box. All right, so it's right down below this current live stream video that you guys are watching right now. So make sure you guys check that out. And yeah, that is it for tonight. Hopefully you guys have been able to create a good watch list for the rest of this week based on this live stream. And hopefully you guys make some very, very good money off of this live stream's watch list. All right, have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you guys on Thursday at the same time, 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time or 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Thank you guys so much for watching, and good luck.